for you is who believes that everything is holy? Every single thing is holy. You might go, but what about that? What about this? What about that? I mean, to be honest, I'd be like, no, that's not so holy, right? Because I have my idea of what holy is. But we say in our teaching that everything is God, the divine. And it's vibrational, and it's energy, and everything is holy now. So I'm just going to mention a few of the verses, because I like doing that because I think it's powerful. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. And now I can't keep track because everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. There isn't one. So all there are miracles, but we don't have that mindset. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So we have been studying for the last few weeks in our Adventures in Faith book study, The Universe Has Your Back, Transform Fear to Faith by Gabrielle Bernstein, who has been reading this book. It isn't excellent. I'm blown away by the depth and her simplicity, both in the same way. It's an easy read, and it's a very powerful book, and we have small groups that are meeting that are taking it into a deeper level and connecting with each other, sharing their thoughts. So one of her chapters is entitled, The Universe Speaks in Mysterious Ways. I think so. Do you? How many of you have ever experienced a synchronicity when someone or something just mysteriously shows up unexpectedly in amazing, great, wonderful ways? I think we've all had those moments of synchronicity. So she speaks to that in this chapter. And where is she? Oh, I don't know. Hang on a second. We're on page 116. Yes, I am on page 116. Miracles are natural, is what she says. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. What's natural is our peaceful, loving instinct and our connection to the love of the universe. What's unnatural is the fear that defends against connection. Fear, along with guilt, separation, judgment, and attack, block us from the miracles that are available to us all of the time. When we believe in the love of the universe and allow it to move through us, we are a clear channel to receive great gifts and great guidance. When synchronicity does not occur and we don't feel guided, it's a sign that we have fallen back into our fearful patterns. Our spiritual journey is an experience of remembering that we are love. The more we embody this truth, the more miracles we will experience. We accept that miracles are just a natural part of us. And when we live in love, we live a miraculous life. Wouldn't you like to just believe and see and experience everything as a miracle? Anybody? All right. And so and she's, it's back to that verse in the song. The challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. So she talks about how you can embody more of this love. And she says, look for love and expect miracles. That's an easy one, right? So I want you to repeat after me. I focus on the love, and I expect miracles. Let's do it again. I focus on love, and I expect miracles. Now, don't repeat after me. Let's just say it together. I focus on love and I expect miracles. That is one of your assignments. I'm going to give you assignments this week. You can do them or not, but to experiment and see if this has an effect on your life. Every day, throughout the day, I'm focusing on love and I expect miracles. It's a mindset that is going on. We have actually been given and programmed to have a fear-based mindset, right? We live in a world that basically tells us what to be afraid of. And our whole mind is set up to survive and stay alive, right? To stay alive and survive. That is the way the brain, the mind has been programmed. But we're here meant to thrive. But we have a fear-based conditioned mind. And what I want to do is uncondition it and recondition it. So my conditioner is saying these words over and over and over again so that I can switch the brain circuits. Because there are circuits in that brain of ours that is operating. And it's operating from fear automatically. It's not even something that we try to be afraid, but there's fear. And it's just to be aware of that and then go, okay, I'm aware. And her whole theory is we have choice. And we can re-choose and recondition our minds to be based on love and miracles and joy and freedom. And at the same time, we have to say we're at war, by the way. I mean, not in the world, in our own lives. There's a war between love and fear. Love and fear. Those are the only things that exist. And they exist in me and they exist in you. If I can become at peace with my fearful self and live from that loving, that's how we build peace on earth, is we release the fear and we replace it with a love-set mind. You look at our nations and all the things that are going on, and even in our politics, there's love and then there's fear, there's division and there's unity. And we have that going on here, right? Just say yes. Okay. So what are you going to say as your prayer? I focus and I... Very good. You passed the first one. So looking for this love puts us in the mindset of love. And again, we have to reprogram. And that's our work to do. And it's not hard to do, but it needs to be continued. So we want to continue to look for love. And then when the miracles come, it's really important to celebrate and give thanks for everything's a miracle. And I give thanks and I celebrate the fact that you're here, because whether you know it or not, you're a miracle, right? I'm a miracle. Wouldn't you like to be a miracle too? I love it when my inner kids just jump in and they're like, I have something to say about this. And Gabrielle says this really cool line. She goes, remember that your relationship with the universe is an ongoing conversation, right? Okay, and then she says the best conversation starts with the words, thank you. So we're looking for love, and as we look for love, because there's only love and fear, when we're looking for love, the fear dissipates, it dissolves. And we want to transform our fears into faith. And she says that's what this book's about, transform fear to faith. Because we're coming from either fear or we're coming from faith, or coming from fear or we're coming from love, and trust in the universe. So, when you're fearful, you're actually closed up, right? You want to protect. When I'm in fear, I want to protect. I close up, I constrict. I cut off love and energy because I just go into it's a constriction. But when I'm in love, I'm expanded and I am open and I'm connected to the universe. But when I'm fearful, the universe is trying to love me, but I'm in my fear. So the goal is to come back into love, into openness and joy and connection. So she talks about how to heighten our faith. And she says to create a faith statement. Well, I don't know that any of us have done that. Maybe you have. But to create a faith statement, something that ignites you and inspires you. And I'm going to read hers specifically just to give you an example of her faith statement. And when I read these words, see how it feels. Because it's not the words, it's the feeling that you get from your faith statement. Now, just pretend this is yours. I know that the universe is an ever-present energy field of love. I know that when I align with the energy of love through thoughts, actions, and beliefs, I am given infinite support and guidance. I know that I can create my reality with this loving presence so that I can live in joy and spread light. How does that feel to you? Does it feel good? Okay. I was hoping maybe some of you closed your eyes. You were napping, but stay with me here. So we're focusing on this love, and I'm going to encourage you to write your faith statement today. Not tomorrow, today. Write your faith statement this afternoon, this evening. Write something that it's going to inspire you, that anchors you. What is your faith statement? Connect with that inner voice. What's our faith statement? Something that you can hang on to, especially in the days to come, because we might need to have some anchors with the whirlwind of election and such things in our world, and there's plenty of it. So when are you going to write your faith statement? Now. All right. So the next thing she says, because the reason I'm asking you to do it today, and is that once you write it, she asks that you commit to it for 24 hours. 24 hours, okay? You just commit to it. You read it in the morning, you read it at lunchtime, you read it, and you just say your faith statement. And then she has another statement. She says right after it, I trust in my connection to the universe, and I have faith that I am being guided. Okay, she's very powerful because I love her because she's like to the point and very strong in the energy of her words. So you want to commit for 24 hours. And she says it's easy because, well, you can do 24 hours and the next day you can just go back to controlling and worrying if you want to. She's not, but if you can do it for 24 hours, hey, it's an experiment. That was not so bad. I'm going to try it for the next 24 hours. So you're doing this on Tuesday, election day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. and then you're doing it, I'll do it for another 24 hours. So you want to get in that state of faithfulness. I trust the universe. I've given you the words, God is my source and who I am trusting. God is my source and whom I do trust. That's one of the ones that Spirit gave to me. And there was a time in my life where I was a substitute teacher for 6 years, and that was an interesting experience, to say the least. I got payback for when I had substitute teachers and my shenanigans. But I didn't like it. It was, there was just having to go into a different school every day. Kids were sometimes challenging, sometimes the lesson plans were challenging. And I had this thought, like, I just need to get out of here. I'm a minister, right? And one of my teachers said to me, Liz, you need to learn to love substitute teaching. And I'm like, You're asking a lot. I'm in the basement, and you're asking me to go to the penthouse. I'm not there, and I'm not sure I'll get there. However, I took her suggestion, and I thought, what could I say that I could maybe buy into? I started to say I enjoy substitute teaching. That was still a stretch, but I would say it over and over and over. I enjoy substitute teaching. I enjoy substitute teaching. And guess what? I started to enjoy substitute teaching, and some of the teachers would ask for me specifically. So it became not so bad, right? And then one day, I got fired. And they wouldn't tell me why I got fired. I was devastated. I was crying. I called my prayer practitioner. I was just like, and they would not tell me because they had this thing about, well, if I tell you, then you'd know the teacher. And I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do? Go postal on them? I really didn't know. And they never told me. They denied me, unemployment. I got it anyway because they never showed up. Anyway, the story isn't that. The story is I was devastated and crying. The very next day, the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe Truckee called me and said, we want you to be a candidate at our center. And I was like, what? And so here's the thing. I think if I had been more centered in the teachings of this book, I might not have been as devastated. I think I would have still been upset to be fired. But I don't think it would have crushed me because I might have had the mindset, like I said last week, that obstacles are detours in the right direction. So when something is pulled, okay, God, I wasn't expecting that. There has to be something good coming through. You know, when they say one door closes, another window opens or something like that. But it's in the mindset, and I didn't have that mindset at that time. So you're going to be practicing, you're looking for love and expecting miracles, getting the mindset. Now I want to shift a little bit, but it's still in the same vein. How many of you have ever judged another person? How many of you ever judged yourself? Well, we're all raised to judge. And Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements talks about the judge and punishment, and you're rewarded and you're punished, and there's a judge, and you were always judging. And in the chapter following the Mysterious Ways one, Oneness Sets You Free. And she talks about how judgment, again, we're talking about focusing on love and being open to miracles. Well, when I'm judging or you're judging, are you open to love? Are you being in your love when you're in judgment? No. So you have closed the channel to love. You've closed the channel to miracles. And how do we move past this thing called judgment? Let's go to another blue. You notice, by the way, I use these stickies for the color that we're on for the week. It's like, oh yeah, we're in blue. Throat chakra. She says, without judgment, we would see another as an equal. We would have no feelings of better than or less than. We'd be one. Oneness is our true nature. When we're in tune with the feeling of oneness, then judgment and separation dissolve and our connections to the love of the universe is restored. Well, that sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Is it easier said than done? Perhaps. So the question is, what is this judgment about? Well, I might be sharing something that is pretty interesting. Anyway, for a moment here. She says, when you are judging others, and this is also said in Don Miguel Ruiz's Four Agreements. What you judge in others is a reflection of what you judge in yourself, whereas what you love in others is a reflection of your light. That's taken you deeper than maybe the norm, but to realize our judgment of others is a judgment of ourselves, and to recognize that the other person is actually you. Bob is me. Victoria is me. Jeannie is me. Charlotte is me. You're all me and I'm you. We're all mirrors of each other. And there is a statement that says, you never see others as they are. You only see others as you are. Take that home and chew on it. Seriously. And there is a book, one of my all-time favorites by Debbie Ford, and it's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, okay? I'm probably going to be teaching a class on that because I think this group, you're deep enough to go into the territory of the shadow, because the shadow has gifts. And I did something yesterday that I didn't expect to do while doing this talk. And here is the experiment of what I did. So I took somebody that I have a lot of judgment about, okay? So you could do this. Take somebody you have judgment about and write down the adjectives of what they are, what irritates you about them. So then I'm going to write a statement saying what's good about. This was actually quite revealing. So what's good about my being arrogant is that I can feel better about myself. Okay? Just listen. What's good about me when I'm being self-centered? Well, I often can get what I want. What's good about me being mean and hateful is that I can keep myself safe from others, because being close to others is dangerous. Just looking at these ideas was amazing. What's good about being power hungry is I'm in control. Being in control is safety. What's good about being a chronic liar is it makes me look good and feel good. What's good about not caring about others is I don't have to deal with them and they can't bother me. I want you to realize that every one of these statements that I made has a base of fear. So anybody who's trying to do any of these things, because you're either coming from fear or you're coming from love. And that's what they say in the Course in Miracles, is that we just do that. That you're either coming from love or you're calling from love. So if you see yourself or someone else not coming from what you know is to be love, they're calling for love. They're lost. They're hurt. One time I talked to my therapist and I had this dream about this killer person who didn't care that they would kill somebody. They had no caring. And I was scared by that dream because I recognize everything in dreams is also me. And when I said this to her, she said, because I thought, there's something really wrong here. She goes, you must have really been hurt. I'm like, I have a killer Liz, and that's what you have to say to me? It's a very big idea, and that when people are hurt and they don't get the help they need, they're actually wounded children that haven't had the therapy, the healing, and they're still hurting, and they're still in fear. So they act the way they act. So it changes me from being so judgmental to perhaps maybe having a little compassion and feeling sorry for the fact that this person has been so wounded that they are acting in that way, okay? So it is really a shift in my consciousness. I want to live from love, not an easy task. However, when I do some of these exercises, I can shift into a more compassionate being, recognizing that there is, like, for instance, a terrorist. There's an inner terrorist in me. Anybody that is in the world and that I can see is a reflection of some part of me. And in Debbie Ford's book, she says that there is something good about every aspect of ourself, including the shadow, which is what I was just giving you examples of. So it's a deep practice, but I believe that this community is ready to go that deep. We don't need to stay on the surface level of people who judge, and then I'm a person who judges. So I want to get to the heart of how we can move past judgment. Number one, we witness our judgment without judgment. I am judging Kim right now. And what I'm going to say is, isn't that interesting? I'm judging myself right now. Isn't that interesting? See, this is called the neutral observer. You want to recognize when you judge, because you're going to judge. That's part of your DNA, really, that you've been programmed to judge. But step one, I'm judging that person who's driving that truck. And so I recognize it without judging myself and criticizing myself. That's a key. I don't need to add judgment onto judgment, or I can, and then I can go, isn't that doubly interesting? So she then says, after you have gotten this witnessing, you're aware of the judgment, I'm blown away because she says something I've never heard before. You always think forgiveness is to forgive another. She says, forgive the thought. And I'm like, forgive the thought? What does that mean? Judgment is, again, expression of fear, okay? And if I'm fearful, if I'm judging somebody, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that they might hurt me or they might hurt another. Or I'm afraid that because my judgment of them is a part of me. Anyway, I don't need to get into all of that. However, forgiving the thought is where I want to go because it blew my mind that we're supposed to forgive the thought. Again, every communication is either an extension of love or a call for love. Forgiveness. In any given moment, you can witness yourself in judgment. You can come free by simply forgiving the thought. Forgive yourself for having the thought and even forgive the thought altogether. And I'm like, what? Recognize that the thought did not come from your highest self. Whoa, it came from your fearful self. Honor your judgmental self and remember that you are merely looking for love and you've been coming from fear. So you judged somebody, you had a judgment thought because you were afraid. Well, why should I beat myself up? I'm like, I forgive myself for having that thought. I was in fear. I wasn't in my love. So I'm going to forgive the thought and forgive myself. You don't need to hold on to the thought. You don't need to replay it, and you can forgive it in an instant. And I have a way to do this that's, she has more to say, but one of them is the Ho'oponopono prayer. And it works because I can do it anywhere, anytime in my mind. I'm driving in my car and I recognize I just made a judgment about that person in their vehicle. And it wasn't a very nice one. And I go, oh, I just judged them. And I go, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That will shift the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to say the line and then you can repeat it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That is the most powerful thing, and I won't go into too much more about it, but if you use those lines sincerely, it'll bring you back to your love because you're not hanging on to the thought. That's what shifts me. Now, the next thing she says, because now I've witnessed in my, isn't that interesting? I am forgiving the thought and doing that little Ho'oponopono. And then the third thing is she goes, see them for the very first time. It's like, good luck with that. But we often take our past and we project it onto other people. We take our own stuff and we project it onto other people. I'm seeing you for the very first time. For me, that's not as easy as it doesn't even sound easy to me. But what if I imagine this person as a little boy or a little girl? Can I let go of my projections, my story about them, and imagine them as a little boy or a little girl? Maybe that would open my heart and I can see them for the first time. These are ideas for you to engage in, for us to open our hearts, to release the judgment. And when you release, there is peace. I love those words, they rhyme. Release, and you have peace. So I'm going to release the fear. I'm going to release that. I'm going to replace it with love. I'm going to focus on love. I'm going to expect miracles. I'm going to trust the universe is taking care of stuff because I can't handle these things, but it can. And so seeing things and people from the first time. In closing, she says, the practice of releasing judgment dissolves all boundaries of love and with love. It brings us back to the truth that we're all in this together. We all suffer. We all feel unworthy and abandoned. Calling on the universe in the holy instant allows us to remember that we're actually all the same, and so we could be kind to each other. Identifying the sameness is what allows us to shift our focus from separation to love. You're just a part of me. I'm just a part of you. I didn't know I was so cute until I looked out there at you all, but the same way we share this thought system of fear is we also share that loving mind. We're calling for love. We're coming from love. I believe that we can build a bridge of love from my heart to your heart, and now is the time to bridge the separation and come back into our oneness. So let us do this work. And so it is.